BoCo gets lost. The sun shone brightly over Vickerstown Yard as BoCo and Stepney waited anxiously. The two were waiting for some special news from the Fat Controller. A bit later, the Fat Controller arrived in Duck. He smiled warmly. BoCo, Stepney, I have some exciting news for the both of you. Tomorrow, you'll be finding comfort at your new home at Ballahoo Sheds. This will make both of your jobs easier. Stepney's eyes widened.
A new home?
He said hesitantly.
I'm not sure I'll fit in there. What if it's too busy, or the other rooms don't like me?
BoCo, standing tall and calm, tried to reassure his smaller friend.
I'm sure everything will work out, Stepney. Ballahoo, I'm sure will be fine. Maybe, I hope. Oh dear. I'm sure nothing will happen.
Despite his outward composure, BoCo felt a twinge of doubt. The thought of leaving familiar surroundings had unsettled him. Though he kept his inner feeling to himself, he was still determined to offer Stepney better support. So, BoCo later sought out Edward for advice. At the station, Edward had greeted him very kindly. Hello, BoCo. You look troubled. What's on your mind? BoCo hesitated before speaking.
Edward, I'm nervous about moving to Ballahoo Sheds. Stepney is too. Though he's more open about it. I want to help him, but I'm not feeling very confident myself,
he said. Edward chuckled softly. Change can be scary, BoCo, but it's also an opportunity for growth. The key is understanding the new place and finding your role in it. Ballahoo Sheds isn't just a home, it's a hub that connects many important lines, Edward gleed. I'm not very busy at the moment, I can help you out. BoCo smiled at Edward. Edward led BoCo down to the docks to leave his train. Edward would help BoCo feel less intimidated by this new experience. And that evening, he shared his newfound knowledge with Stepney.
Edward says knowing the line can help us feel more confident,
he explained.
For example, the branch line to the harbour is the busiest in the mornings, but quieter at night. The express line connects through there, so we'll see Gordon often. And with that, it's not as long as a run up to Vickerstown I thought.
BoCo smiled. They came to a stop. Stepney listened intently, but still felt uncertain.
That's helpful, BoCo. But what if we get lost or end up in the wrong place?
BoCo chuckled and smiled warmly.
You won't. And even if you do, there will be someone to help you.
Despite BoCo's optimism, Stepney's nerves still lingered. The two continued to Ballahoo Sheds.
Thank you, BoCo,
said Stepney. This trip has been helpful. I think I might actually enjoy exploring the new lines. BoCo's face lit up.
I'm glad to hear that, Stepney. Change can be daunting, but it leads to wonderful experiences.
BoCo looked over at Stepney and smiled. A bit later, the Fat Controller came to tell BoCo some very important news. The Fat Controller beamed from ear to ear. BoCo, Edward told me that he helped you learn the lines around here. I think it's time you take your first evening train, the Fat Controller called. The train consists of one flatbed and two vans and will run through the night. Can you handle it? The Fat Controller asked. BoCo shivered, but he was confident enough to do it. He raced down to the docks. Starting his journey from Ballahoo Station, BoCo would embark into the night with his train. Hours would pass, and BoCo saw fewer and fewer engines. But by the time BoCo got near the junction to Ballahoo, it was becoming harder to see. Suddenly, Duck quacked out of the siding and made poor BoCo jump. BoCo didn't know the signalman had fallen asleep waiting for him, and the points were switched to the wrong line. BoCo raced through and switched to the incorrect line. then there was even more trouble. BoCo's driver noticed his fuel was getting low and decided to look for a yard they could refill. But unfortunately, they had no luck. They pulled into an overgrown goods yard, which had an old abandoned warehouse that looked like it hadn't been used in decades. BoCo looked around, but he couldn't see a diesel fuel tank anywhere, not even a fuel drum. BoCo was on a part of the island he had never been on before, and he felt very scared and very lost. His driver got out and looked around. That's when he noticed an old warehouse building. "I wonder if there's a telephone in there. I could call for help," his driver said bravely. At Ballahoo Station, the Fat Controller was waiting nervously for the important train. It's not like BoCo to be this late. I sure hope he isn't lost. I should send a search party. And he raced away to make some calls. But by now, BoCo had completely run out of fuel. He felt cold and alone. Beside the trucks, BoCo had an owl for company.
Oh, Mr. Owl. If only you could talk. I feel alone, scared right now.
BoCo said, shaking just a little. The owl flew from the tree and onto BoCo's roof and hooted calmly on him. BoCo could only smile. Suddenly, BoCo's driver returned with some news. "Well, I tried ringing, but the phone wasn't working so well, and there wasn't a map in there either. I think we're both stuck out here till tomorrow," BoCo's driver said.
The only good thing that's happened so far is that I made friends with an owl.
At Ballahoo, the Fat Controller had made his calls and a search party was underway. He was getting ready to go home when Stepney came up.
Sir, hop on my cab. You and I will go find BoCo.
Cheered Stepney. "But there's an entire team looking for him. Why don't we just get some rest?"
There's no time to rest, sir. Come on.
The Fat Controller sighed as he obligately walked into his cab. And they went to go find BoCo. Meanwhile, back at the abandoned warehouse, BoCo, his driver, and his new friend sat cold and all alone. Suddenly, BoCo looked up, and he could hear chuffing sounds. BoCo was relieved.
We're saved! We're saved!
He shouted, honking his horn. Whistling from the distance arrived Stepney and the Fat Controller. They stopped inches away from his train.
He's come to rescue you.
Cheered Stepney.
Shh! Don't scare the owl.
BoCo hooted softly. "Let's get you back home, BoCo," the Fat Controller said.
Can the owl come?
BoCo teased cheekily. Stepney, the Fat Controller, and BoCo's driver all laughed. Later that night, they arrived back at Ballahoo Sheds. The Fat Controller was very solemn. "BoCo, I'm sorry for making you take a train right after your first day getting into your new home," said the Fat Controller solemnly. BoCo could only smile.
All that matters is that I'm back here safely. Thanks to you and Stepney, that was possible,
he said endearingly. Stepney smiled at BoCo.
Anything for your best friend.
As the Fat Controller walked back into Stepney's cab, BoCo and Stepney smiled at each other happily.